Okay, folks, this video is going to be concerning the starter. If you remember in the last videos, or if you're just joining us, uh, we got the car started, cranked and running. We had just put the fuel tank back in, got it cleaned out, the fuel lines ran. The car did start, but the starter acted like it didn't want to engage properly. Thought maybe it was a bad solenoid. So this video, we're going to take that starter off, try to clean it up. But let's get started. I'm going to get to that starter now, but I'm not going to video it. When the time comes, I will video when I put the starter back in. Maybe a little bit easier that way to see. Okay, I got the starter off the RX7. If you can remember on the last video, we cranked the car up, but the you could hear the starter gears just clanking up against the flywheel. Yeah, there's no telling. We're fixing to take this thing apart and see what we can see. Maybe try to clean it up and see if we can make it work better. Got your solenoid right here. It's yeah, you got a couple wires that hook to it. One of them goes to the ignition when you start. But of course, when this solenoid engages, it pushes this plunger. Yeah, it's got a lever that goes right through here, and when you energize the solenoid, of course, you got a piston that is pulled backwards. When that happens, it pulls a lever, and when it pulls a lever, it pushes the starter gear forward like that, all the way to engage the flywheel. Now, of course, the way it's supposed to work, after it engages the flywheel, being all the way forward, then that's when your starter gear begins to turn. So something was happening where it wasn't engaging all the way, and you could hear all that the clicking and tapping noise. Every time I went to start it. So let's see if we can get this thing apart. See what we can find. can see the piston here. That moves back and forth inside this electromagnet here. And you got a switch way down at the bottom, little button. And when this little piston, when the solenoid is engaged, pushes the piston all the way back and engages that switch in the back. Of course, when it does that, you got your positive wire hooked to this post. And when this piston goes all the way back, engages the switch, then you close the circuit between this post and this post. So now you got the positive running through this post down this wire into the starter. And of course the starter is grounded, so then your starter can actually engage and start turning. And I got my ohm meter, each one hooked to each post here. And of course we got an open circuit like it's supposed to be for right now. And of course when the solenoid is engaged, this electromagnet magnet, is going to push this piston all the way to the bottom, like that. And as you can see on our ohm meter, we're pretty much, we're getting a pretty good contact. If for some reason when the piston pushes on the button there and we don't close the circuit between these two posts, that means you got something going on in here. You got corrosion, you got contacts. Contacts are dirty, not fully seating up inside. Of course, on many older cars, you can a lot of times the solenoid is built into the starter, and of course you can take all that apart and clean the contacts. If your starter's slow, sometimes you can take the brushes and whatnot, along with everything else, by taking the starter apart, cleaning all that. If we had to, I can take the starter and clean the brushes. But for right now, it seems like, of course, on this setup, your starter and solenoid is separate, and of course, this solenoid is not meant to be taken apart. I probably could if I wanted to. If I thought the solenoid went bad, I probably could. You'd have to bend all the metal back. It's just the way the idiots made it from the factory. So it makes it hard for the average Joe to take it apart and be able to put it back together. But if you wanted to, you could. But this seems to be functioning okay. More likely the problem is going to lie in this lever, the actuating lever up inside here that moves this back and forth. It's kind of hard. It should be a lot easier to move. So we're going to kind of clean and spray some WD-40, try to loosen this up a little bit, and see if that does anything. Okay, as you can see right now, I'm getting these surfaces nice and clean. This is the starter itself, where it makes contact with the transmission bell housing. Then of course, here's where your solenoid makes contact. Now the reason you want all these surfaces clean is because this is where your grounding comes in. It's all about grounding. That's many times that lies in your electrical problems. You got poor grounds, due to age and corrosion, and 7 times out of 10, that's usually your problem. So, of course, your ground wire goes through your engine. Grounds your starter out. Then, of course, your solenoid, you want that grounded out. And, make sure you got a good ground through your entire starter and your solenoid body. I got the starter put back together on the terminals. You got your 2 positive terminals on your solenoid. I took those and cleaned those real good. The little ignition terminal right here, when you turn the ignition key to start, this powers up this terminal here to power the solenoid. And of course, like I said before, when that solenoid is powered, it pulls the lever up inside of here to bring this drive gear all the way forward to mesh with the flywheel. And when it gets all the way forward and mesh with the flywheel, of course, that engages your starter itself. So here we go. I just got a jump wire. It's just a little small jump wire from the positive clamp here, and I'm gonna touch it to the solenoid like he's starting a car. So okay, yeah, you can see that it's engaging and spinning just fine. You know, like I said in the last video, I went in and cleaned where the piston goes in, the lever, all this where it goes back and forwards on this shaft. I cleaned that, put a little grease on here, so hopefully that'll last a good while it's on the car, kind of greased up. Because when we took it apart, you know, I could tell it was just all dry. The lever wasn't moving very freely. You know, so the solenoid was having a hard time trying to pull that lever back up to engage. So now I got all that oiled up. It looks like it's working okay here. Try it one more time. Of course, as you can see, when you disengage, you know, it's got a spring up in there to automatically pop this back. So looks like it's working fine. We're gonna put it back in the car and see how it works for real. And you can see where the starter goes. Got your transmission bell housing here. Okay, this is your ground strap. You only got 2 bolts, one here holding your starter on. Okay. Of course, you always want to check inside to make sure the teeth of your flywheel are not all chipped and ate up. Especially if you hear a bunch of grinding and, you know, it sounds like teeth grinding, gear teeth grinding against each other when you're starting. You want to check to make sure that's good, that's in good shape. I got to clean this surface to make a better contact with. You got your positive cable here. That just basically goes to your battery. And well, your ground and your positive both just go directly to your battery. Yeah, this is your main wire here. It's black with a yellow stripe. That hooks to your solenoid. That's what activates the solenoid when you turn the ignition key to start. Just putting a little grease on the flywheel. Okay, what we got here? It's like a 14. Okay, these are 2 starter bolts are 14 millimeter. Get this out the way. Okay, folks, got the starter back in, all hooked up. Got the truck with the jumper cables charging this old POS battery of mine. Let's let's just crank on to make sure that starter works. Okay, it started just fine. It cranked right on up. You remember, it's probably been about 3 or 4 days since the last video where I cranked it up. But, that's the next on the agenda, is to try to do something with that damn radiator. See if we can at least temporarily plug those holes. I do plan on getting a nice heavy duty aluminum radiator upgrade. I think that's all. That's the one major thing that all rotaries need, is a upgraded cooling system. And larger aluminum radiator would be the ticket, because these factory radiators, they're kind of small, they're brass, they like to leak. Yeah, I'm gonna eventually get rid of that one and do some upgrading. Of course, with the radiator, probably water pump, lower temp thermostat, etc. But that's it for this video. If you're not yet subscribed, hit that button. It'll help a lot. Also hit that notification bell. Got some mini videos coming up here soon. If you like, just hit that like button. Please comment. Anything to add, whatnot, just please leave a comment if you would. And until next time, take care.